The Ohio Department of Transportation is a big, visible organization. And what we do, what ODOT does, is important. We're on the public stage every day. Our transportation system, and then therefore our department, impacts everyone's life. We impact everyone's life every day. Impact our economy and our jobs, our safety and our quality of life. It's a responsibility that none of us take lightly. Travelers drive 310 million miles on our Ohio highways every day. 310 million miles. Ohio has the second largest number of bridges with more than 43,000. And we move more goods by water annually than through the Panama Canal. But just like everyone has felt the effects of the sluggish economy, ODOT is facing the same challenges. Today we're here to talk about our current financial circumstance and how we're working to make ODOT a better, more efficient organization, an organization providing the best possible return on the public's transportation investment. If you think about it, our job and every organization in government's job is simple. We are entrusted with resources, and our job is to turn those resources into results. And in our case, I believe results means at the retail level. It's mowing, plowing the snow, cleaning the ditches, and most importantly, in the case of our major new projects, it's delivering projects that mean so much to the various communities around the state. That's what we're here to talk about, and while we're here, we're going to ask for your help as we look to maintaining and improving our transportation infrastructure in Ohio and throughout the country. Private life, including private enterprise, depends on a publicly provided physical infrastructure. It's not optional, and it's not inexpensive. It's one area of public policy about which there's really no debate. Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and liberals, we're all against bridges falling down. We're all for access, mobility, safety, and options. But the fact is, we're facing a funding crisis in Ohio. Last January, it was presented to the Transportation Review Advisory Council that there is a $1.6 billion funding shortfall for construction projects. Those are projects that have been vetted through the process, ready to go to construction, and we don't have enough money to build them. Plus, there's another $10 billion worth of projects, future projects that are in the development process for which there is no money. The result is, if left unchanged, the situation as it is, we will have to push projects back many years, in some cases decades. Now, I know that people in communities across the state were shocked, angered, and disappointed by this new reality. A reality that we agree is unacceptable. We share your frustration, and we are focused on doing something about it. And that's the primary reason for today's meeting. Since January of 2011, we've been examining every option to save money, every option to generate new money, and how can we decrease our cost of doing business. Transportation is a key job creator, and it's vital to a robust economy. If we want to continue our recovery, we need to think differently, and we cannot wait for Washington to send more money. And we need to be aware of the fact that we have an aging infrastructure that is in need of replacement and repair. Back in 1991, I first became ODOT director. I went to my first AASHTO meeting. And any of those of you who have never been there, it's sort of like a United Nations. You sit in a circle with your nameplate and your microphone, and I thought, my goodness, how did I get here? Anyway, the first meeting I went to, the prime subject for the day was reauthorization of the Surface Transportation Act. What ultimately became ICE-T. And during the course of the meeting, I was kind of impressed because there seemed to be a unity amongst the members in the states, and we all agreed we needed more money, expected more money, and we wanted to streamline the process, and it seemed to be going pretty well. During the course of the meeting, a young man came around to me and he whispered in my ear, he says, "Are you Director Ray from Ohio?" I said, "Yes, I am." "Secretary Brown from Illinois wants you to meet with him and some of the other directors and CEOs from the donor states after this meeting. This meeting will be concluding at 4:30, and we'd like to see you about 5:15. They gave me a room number. So I thought, oh, okay. So I went to, again, this is a regular love fest. We need more money. We're going to get more money. It's just a question of, how we're all going to spend it together. I went to this private meeting with the donor states, folks from Texas, and I'll never forget Ben Watts from Florida. He led the discussion. Kirk Brown from Illinois and some others. And I found myself embroiled in a meeting that was clearly us against them. We were the donor states, and we'd had enough of it. And I've got Congressman so-and-so and Senator so-and-so, and who can you get from Ohio? And I thought we were going to start making Molotov cocktails. So, whoa, these things aren't quite as copacetic as I thought. That was in 1991. Every AASHTO meeting that I went to from that time forward, the number one item on the agenda was reauthorization of the Surface Transportation Act. This was iced tea and safety loo and, I don't know, peach tea, whatever we had after that. Then I was gone, so it's 20 years later. I go to my next AASHTO meeting. Number one item on the agenda is reauthorization of the Surface Transportation Act. A couple weeks ago, we were in Traverse City at the AASHTO spring meeting. The subject was the same, but the tone was completely different. Back then, we expected more money. We'd always gotten more money. We wanted more programs. We always argued for more flexibility and got less. We always argued for speeding up the process, and it got slower. But 2 weeks ago in Traverse City, the subjects or the discussion centered around we think we might get the same amount of money. We think we'll get continuation, and that there won't be any increase, but we think we can hold on to what we've had. And if we do that, we ought to have a celebration. It's going to go to conference. No talk about donor or donee states, just hang on to what we have. And it was agreed that it would be a victory if there's the same amount of money with no increase. Same subject, whole different tone and attitude about where we were. Because of the size and scope of our projects and the lengthy development process, funding projections are not an exact science. It's not easy. Right now, we're basically attempting to predict how much gas Ohioans are going to purchase between now and 2036. Not to mention how inflation and other economic factors will affect our purchasing power as we move forward. For every dollar, despite all that discussion back in the 1990s about the donor states, we're gonna win this battle. For every dollar Ohio sends to Washington from the federal motor fuel tax, we receive about 86 cents in return. And the money we do get back comes with all sorts of strings, red tape, and bureaucratic federal mandates attached. And that's just our federal revenue. On the state side, ODOT receives approximately 60% of the money collected and shares the remaining with other agencies and other government entities. And I think there's probably a chart up here that refers to that. And we had a package that provides that information. This is a monumental problem to tackle, and it's not one that can be solved overnight, but we will continue to find solutions. But we also have to be realistic and focus on what we control and what we can change now here in Ohio. Many of you might ask, how did we get here? Didn't we know this was coming? The cause of the problem is fairly simple. Our recent economic decline, combined with more fuel-efficient vehicles that use less gas, inflation, and a federal stalemate over a long-term national transportation funding plan, has left Ohio and every other state in a precarious position. As gas prices rise, consumption goes down, meaning Ohio has less money to build and maintain our transportation system. The federal and state motor fuel tax dollars, our primary source of funding, don't buy as much as they once did. And we're unable to keep up with the rising cost of construction. It costs us $158 to buy today what we could buy for $100 in year 2000. As I mentioned, the uncertainties at the federal level have us locked down to a degree. We encourage our members of Congress to find a way to pass a long-term, reliable transportation bill and end the guessing and anticipation. And this is the first point where I'm going to ask you to do something, and that is contact your congressman and encourage them, your members of Congress, to pass a responsible transportation funding bill. It's been almost 3 years and 9 extensions since the last transportation bill expired, and it's time the states know what their federal financial outlook will be. Unfortunately, this uncertainty prohibits us from being able to plan. Long-term planning needed to construct the many massive high-priority projects that we have vital to safety and congestion relief and economic development. One of the things that's changed for me is I can remember back in the 90s, we led a project for $60 million, and that was the largest project that had ever been led by the Ohio Department of Transportation. Now we're trying to maintain, expand, and rehabilitate the interstate in the urban areas and beyond under traffic. We now have projects that are multiple phases, and each phase is in excess of 150 and sometimes 200 million, with totals approaching $1 billion. So the complexity and the expense of the projects is magnified many-fold. I used to describe our program back in the 90s as a state-administered federally assisted program. We had more state money than federal money. That changed in the early 2000s, and now we're really a state-administered, federally driven program. If there's more federal money forthcoming, that will help. But that's not the answer. We have to take care of business at home. And by that I mean we need to produce, and by produce I mean produce projects. Projects at the retail level, core tangible projects. Quick delivery of projects is what folks want from us. What we call major new projects, badly needed around the state. It's not about computer printouts or studies or reports. It's not about the paper. It's about Ohio's citizens and providing them with a safe, efficient movement of people and goods. We need to act and move faster, and I believe the people of ODOT are ready to do that. I like to talk to them about our currency. When you think of currency, you think of money. But in government, and particularly with the Ohio Department of Transportation, we have two currencies. Well, we actually have three. Money, we need to be good stewards of the money. We need to take care of it and spend it wisely. Our other important currency is time. Everything we do, people want faster, sooner, and quicker. Whether it's plowing the snow, mowing the grass, or getting the project, or resurfacing the road, they want the interchange, the bypass, the connector now, not 10 years from now, and certainly not 30 years from now. When I was a county engineer, we had a rural county. We had a lot of bad bridges, and used to meet with folks out at the bridge side and in my office, and we were very proactive in trying to share information and engage the citizens regarding what was going on, how long the bridge would be closed while we replaced it, and so on and so forth. Must have talked to over 200 people during the course of those 10 years. And all of that time of talking with people about a bridge that was going to be out, that was going to inconvenience them and their school buses and their emergency vehicles and the farmers, I never had a citizen ask me, how much will it cost? They always ask, when will it be open? What people want from us is to move faster, and it starts with us, with ODOT, in improving our efficiency and our production. We're undertaking an intensive look at how we can improve internally and how we can save dollars. In just 1 year, for example, we've reduced staff by over 400 through attrition and saved more than $34 million annually. That savings will repeat itself year after year. We're also looking at new and innovative ways to finance transportation projects. And we're going to let our Chief of Staff, Greg Murphy, tell you a little more about the results we're seeing. He's also going to explain how taking a hard look at our operations and the way we do business is resulting in real, tangible savings and increased production. Greg?